Gasly sends it to the outside. He can't get there. Kevin King is going to win the Bar-Bissell FTF Cup Series.
Into the lead. Bud gets wrecked in front of the pack. He saves it. 3-4 wide as they come to the white flag.
Here comes Vargas down on the apron. They are 5 wide. Ian Plash will win it at the line. Is this package? Oh, there goes Jordan Lopez Jr. That's your race leader. Caution flag is out.
Still no one willing to give up as they are going to be dead even off of the first chicane.
Oh, he saves it. What's going to happen here? Here comes the canvas. Get your front there.
He's got it. He's got it. Get there. No.
This is going to win.
This is a place of legacy, a track which has been the focal point, the fulcrum of so many racing discussions. This, the circuit, which has passed time and again in one of cycling's Ardennes classics, the Liège-Bastogne-Liège, at the late stages of that cycling classic. This is where great racing comes to life. This is the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. This is FTF1, and this is what makes great racing. Your modernracingprince.com FTF1 series, and it is live here with FTF1 on Twitch. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone watching around the world. My name's Jake Sperry. Alongside me in the booth is Joey Atterbury. And Joey, this track is something else. It is the sort of track where everybody seems to notice that whatever car you bring to this place, you get great racing. But not just that, we're bringing some behemoths out to race today.
The fastest of the fast here on iRacing. You're right. In Spa, you look at around the world, there's several tracks that stand out in each continent. You know, there's Daytona, there's Le Mans, there's Bathurst, but you look at all of them put together, I think Spa really stands above the rest. The elevation, the top speed, the braking capabilities out there, and then like you mentioned it, you combine it with the capabilities of these IR01 cars. It is going to be something else to see. I know 200 plus miles an hour is definitely more than capable here today.
Oh, that we know is more than capable, and it will be very telling when it's all natural V10 engines screaming around this place, echoing through the Ardennes, and then everyone is going to be alert to what they have going forward. It is a sprint special here today, so first race coming up, 20 minutes on the clock to get yourself moving forward. And what's crucial about that heat is that the top 8 have already been inverted on their qualifying, so they've got that to focus on. That will then go over towards the main racing that will be heading up forward. That will be 45 minutes or 22 laps, whichever comes along first. And that will be crucial because there will be a tyre change as they go. Let's go to the grid. Let's see how they all stack. It's Paul Mikolajczyk who will be on pole with the top 8 invert. Ben Goyette will be alongside for company with Jamie Ritchie-Price and Robert Lowry on row 2. Hamilton Akabizi, the championship leader, starts in 5th with Connor Harrington 6th, and then Brandon Hawkin and Ben Fuller 7th and 8th. Mitchell and Goke are your top 10 as they look to get themselves all sorted out and ready. It's a long field down. Stoltz and Pandisio, Pressy and Sabelski, Melillo, Brewer, Nawrocki, Schultz, your 18. Outside of 107%, John Paul and Rafael Ruiz. They will not take to the start here today at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. But with most drivers then sat, ready and waiting, they will know it's a short run to the last horse hairpin and then up through Eau Rouge and Radion. That's when the real fun begins in a race like this one. Welcome here to FTF1 if you're here for the first time. Now there's 10 points on offer here in this sprint race. You've got to throw everything you can at out the window and hope that in the end of it all, it will just stick in terms of position. 20 minutes. It starts now. Lights out and away we go. Slow start from the second row of the grid. One car already off into the wall in the background as they charge towards the last horse hairpin. And Mikolajczyk with the race lead, gathering pace off the end. Goyette second. Brandon Hawking with an incredible start is up into third.
Yeah, but look at this, side by side into Eau Rouge. They zipper it through single file for the first time, and now the drafting battle begins. Let's see how many cars are going to be leapfrogged here.
Oh, everyone's going to try and find some space here. Big power move on the right-hand side from Ben Fuller. And off the road goes Mikolajczyk. He'll go straight back across and bang! Track is jammed as everybody has to try and navigate their way through. Exactly what didn't want to happen off of the start. 4, 5, 6 different drivers caught up. And pretty much the entirety of the middle of the field is involved then up at Lake Coombe.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and maybe the top 8 were the cars that were able to squeeze through, and we do have that safety car because it's rightfully needed. Look at how many cars were involved in it. It all started with Paul Mikolajczyk out there, and cold tires plus top speed, and that draft, it just resulted in disaster.
They have 2 fast repairs, and that's not good. Over there at Speaker's Corner, that will be a tow over to the pits for Brandon Hawking, who absolutely did not want that. Everybody is just desperately trying to get themselves around to the pit so they can take service at the end of this opening lap, which has been crazy. And it's crazy because you just get so much draft in these machines. They are so sleek. They are so low. They have been specifically designed by iRacing and Dallara to be pretty much as radical as a Formula car can be with a naturally aspirated engine. It's not often that you get to say that, but that is how it looks up the hill. So slow start there from the second row of the grid. One car hitting the wall immediately off the start with the torque, but it's Ben Fuller who I think pushes the envelope out and says, you know what, it's me being aggressive that causes the chain reaction.
Well, and I mean, once you get this many cars in a train after Eau Rouge, I'm really impressed with the drafting capabilities here because we were 3 wide at a moment's notice, and really all 3 lanes had momentum here. As Paul Mikolajczyk that ended up getting loose going in here on corner entry and losing it.
Yeah, he just got scared, went a little bit too far forward, and bang! One across the track, Brandon Hawking. Everyone has to scatter, and the middle of the field is where it goes wrong. And that's where you sense that when you get through that section of the track, you're just hoping that it opens out. But unfortunately, it takes both traction cars in trouble. Everybody then has to be a little bit alert to what goes through. And then that is disaster. We'll take a little bit of a look as Pandisio was one of the drivers, Joey, who was caught out late. I believe this might be Melillo moving through. This is what you see going through the group. Oh, it's a junkyard. You gotta just slow it way down.
Well, I think that he took that. Oh, and then oh my goodness, you gotta even be careful of cars backing up out there. Saw Justin Melillo do the right thing, track blockage, get on the brakes and kind of avoid everything, and even then you're not safe. But look at this. It all starts with our leader. When he comes back on track, he collects Hawken. Then also you'll see Pandisio get spun behind there and just a full blockage at that point.
Yeah, who was that? Just threading the needle, getting through about 3 or 4 different cars there. That was impressive, trying to move on through. But that then pretty much says all you need to know. Now, this will be taking a lot of time here. The Mercedes GT4 safety car out there. It's Ben Fuller who leads this race. Hamilton Akabuzi, the championship leader, in second position. Ben Goyette in third. Jamie Ritchie-Price fourth. And Connor Harrington rounding out the top 5 overall. There have been some good gainers up through the field as they've looked. And I tell you what, there are some drivers who have done pretty much what they've needed to. John Paul III, for example, up from 19th position into the top 10 on that opening lap, getting away from everybody else. And their dramas here at this circuit to Spa-Francorchamps. Is there off. That is not a good decision there going through for Jamie Ritchie Price, finding himself turned around on the front stretch, and he's done that with a malfunction at the junction. Contact with Connor Harrington.
And I'm taking a look. Yeah, this is a really interesting one. So when they come out on the front straightaway here, you got Connor Harrington behind, and I believe Jamie Ritchie Price is just going to try to warm up the tires, and there's going to be contact between the two here.
Look, he goes across to start warming his tires. Into the back of him goes Connor Harrington, who will feel that he'll be very hard done by there. And the mock-up early 2000s Ferrari, the Michael Schumacher Rubens Barrichello spec Ferrari style car there, it's not going to be very happy. And here's the thing with an incident like that. If you have an accident, these drivers, even though they're in yellow flag conditions, do have a license to overtake at that point. It's one of the rare times where you are allowed to make an overtake out on circuit under yellow flag safety car conditions.
Yeah, that's kind of, it's a rule of thumb, right? If you have to come to a stop, you're actually providing more of a hazard than the yellow flag out there. So use your head out there. There's a car spun off to the side. Yes, you're safe to overtake.
Yeah, you certainly are. But Ben Fuller at the front of the field, 8th all the way to 1st. You have to talk about him in terms of being a world-class driver, Joey, because the work he has done for Apex, he is the sort of driver who is Mr. Open Wheel at this moment in time in iRacing. I don't think there is a better driver in the world than him in an open wheel formula, and you consider this as well with Ben Fuller, that he was right up there. Safety car is in this lap. He was a driver who was right up there back in the Dallara World Championships back in the late 2021.
Well, and he's doing the classic F1 style start right now. We have the safety car coming in, and look at Ben Fuller. He's stacking up the field. He's running at his pace right now. He's going to decide when to hit the throttle. He's going to dictate this restart just as he is allowed to do.
Yeah, he will choose when he wants to go. The mock-up Jordan livery there of Hamilton Akabuzi is going to try and make as much hassle as possible with the time that they've got. And this, of course, a race for 10 championship points in this sprint. Who can make a challenge to Ben Fuller, who will go through this left-hand bend, trying to get onto the power and off again. Big kick over the AstroTurf, and we're back underway with green flag running. Akabuzi following him every stage of the way. A little search then for third place is down the inside. Connor Harrington makes the pass on Ben Goyette. He gets through and comfortably makes that pass as we are back underway again.
I think a little bit of chess going from Akabuzi right now. He decided not to make a move down into turn one. He wants the draft on Ben Fuller, and you see our leader already making several moves down the straightaway, doing whatever he can to break this slipstream.
Well, he does enough here into Lake Combs, side by side for about 4th position. It was almost Robert Lowry. He is gone, and he's going to be almost in the wall, and he's just about saves it. There's someone in the wall, in trouble there in the back. Who's that? Who's found himself facing the wrong way? That's no good, and someone else off the road. On top of that, that's Robert Lowry still trying to get back on track.
That was Josh Stoltz was the first car that had trouble. He took a tow back to pit lane, and then you called it right. The 96 right here on screen. Robert Lowry also with problems now finds himself as the caboose at the end of the field.
Yeah, and it has been a very, very hectic start to racing action here around this circuit to Spa-Francorchamps. Through the campers corner, on for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Akabuzi looking behind at Harrington and Ben Goyette here in this race, knowing that they're going to be into play. There's the look to the inside, on the run through the curve of Paul Frere into Blanchimont, this really brilliant corner in terms of commitment. Akabuzi will cover off Ben Goyette, and 2nd and 3rd change their hands here at Spa, and they keep on pushing, and we're almost at, believe it or not, half distance in this race. 10 minutes to go. Big car off there over on the back, and that looked like it was John Paul in trouble, and there's someone else then stuck in the wall, and that's Jonathan Goke in trouble.
Yeah, Jonathan Goke having problems coming out of the final corner. I think he just got on the throttle a little bit too aggressively. That V10 spooling up with that. No, I shouldn't say spooling up. I should just say putting the throttle down, spinning up those rear tires, lost traction. But here we go for second place between Akabuzi and Harrington.
And around the outside, Akabuzi must do it at Malmedy. Heading to Bruchel, big loss. How on earth is there not contact there with Connor Harrington just about holding on to the ragged edge? And speaking of people trying to hold on to the ragged edge, Nicholas Pressey finding himself in the walls up at Lake Coombe. They are struggling to keep the heat in the tyres when they're on those long straights.
Well, and Jake, I just think that a lot of these drivers are struggling with the car, and maybe the downforce levels or the natural speed of this racetrack. There's a lot of cars flying off the racetrack. Attrition coming into play.
Look, this is the sort of circuit where at the speeds they're going, you don't have time to think. You just have to drive. And it's a very, very different process to think at this speed, okay, must turn this much. Watch out for car in the rear view mirror. Oh, wait, I'm 3 corners down the road already. You have to think at a different level than you would do, for example, at the 24 hours of Spa, which is GT. Harrington, back to the inside on the brakes. Can he get it slowed up? Yes. Well played, back into second position, but the change off is going to be back once more, because let's not forget, this is a track where overtaking is pretty common in these styles of machine, especially up the Kemmel.
Well, yeah, you've got huge potential to just sit right here in the slipstream, as we're going to see Akabuzi do on Connor Harrington. And with nobody in front of this number 78 machine, Harrington really is just kind of a sitting duck. He can put his car in the middle of the racetrack, but you see Akabuzi just kind of drive right by. Here comes Harrington as he go late on the brakes. Yes, he does. He's going to defend that second place position.
And Ben Goyette, the Canadian, just very happy to sit and wait and watch down the hill through this Bruchel's corner, formerly known as Ravage, and into Speaker's corner, then the left-hander, trying to get as much pace as possible. Look at them charging here. They are going 294, just about 185 miles an hour before they hit the brakes into Double Ghost, the former Pouhon corner. That is some crazy speed. This car is built on downforce.
Well, and not only that, but it looks cool while it's going that fast. Look at how low slung it is with the big old tires on it. Just kind of the helmet sticking up out of the top. It's just rad looking.
It is, and it's got that scream of an engine that so many old school Formula One fans would have loved so much about it. Akabuzi, happy to sit and play the waiting game once again. On the brakes, trying to find a way through, isn't managing it. And through all of this, we've been focusing on second, third, and fourth. Has anyone noticed that despite taking a tow, Brandon Hawkins back up to fifth?
Well, that's a great run out of the number 5 machine. You're right. Brandon Hawkins here going through the exit of turn 1, and he's actually one of the faster cars on the racetrack. That last time, a 145.8. Those 3 cars that we've been watching are turning laps in the 1:47 bracket, so keep an eye on the number 5. He's closing in on that battle.
He is, and there is more side by side. Akabuzi, has he got overlap? He does. Around the outside, up into Lake Coombe, and moves up into second once more. They know that Ben Fuller is a light year away. He is 5.5 seconds down the road at this stage. But it's all about driving. Look at all the tyre marks already around this track. They are laying in rubber.
Well, I mean, you were talking about the speeds, and when you have that much grip, that much tire that you're putting down on the racetrack, you're right. You're literally going to be putting the rubber down every lap.
They have to make a really sturdy tyre. for this sort of car. Into campus, the technology center here in Francorchamps, and over now through Stavelot corner. And this is where drive is important for Connor Harrington. We'll move over to that inside line. Akabuzi, if he's clever about this, lets him have overlap, but doesn't. He's going to fight it every single stage of the way. He's going to get back to the left-hand side of the circuit, the long way around at the chicane, and you're going to have to go up and under to make it happen. Harrington holding a good defense at this point, over 99, the championship leader.
Really just kind of an accordion battle. Whoever is following can definitely be able to close it on up using that toe, especially in this section of the racetrack. But one thing I've noticed here, Jake, these two have dropped Ben Goyette and Brandon Hawkin now right on the back of the 82 as well.
And Brandon Hawkin needs every point he can get in the championship. He comes into today down by, guess how many, Joey? Just the solitary 1 championship point.
Well, he's about to pick up another position right here. Look at the power of the slipstream, almost 200 miles an hour from Brandon Hawkin. Overtakes for position number 4.
And not only does he do that, but you need to talk tyre out there, because he's on the white-walled hard compound tyre out there. Ben Goyette on the yellow-walled medium compound tyre. And you'd consider on a short race like this, medium versus hard, because that soft tyre is just going to get eaten up by certain drivers out there who are trying to make it happen, like Jamie Ritchie-Price and Jonathan Goat. That medium is probably the best tyre for a short run. For a medium to long run, you're looking at the white wall hard being the best race tyre.
Well, and to talk about that, Jake, we had that little bit of full course yellow, so that kind of helped these cars on that softer compound. But the longer we run on the green flag, you're right, you're seeing those harder compounds definitely come into their window.
Yeah, and their window is the key, because the longer that this race goes, the more wear that they're going to have, and it's going to be quite telling here who's going to start on what tyre in the race coming through. Now we are at 2 laps to go with Ben Fuller leading. That race for second on, that race for fourth starting to fracture a little bit with Brandon Hawkin comfortably in that 4th place. And Brandon Hawkin, he himself, a driver who is part of some really esteemed sim racing teams out there. He's part of that SRC Movano Corsa team. I'm not sure if he's running for them here today, but you know that Brandon Hawkin, in terms of what he brings to the table, is incredible. And we've got an incredible little battle going on once again around the outside. Akabuzi holding that station with Harrington. This has been a dogfight between these two.
Nothing has really separated these two other than maybe a couple magnets on the nose and tail of these cars, because they're flip-flopping around every lap, just using the slipstream to gain on one another and then race each other down the straightaway, late braking, and it's just kind of a duel, a dogfight, if you will.
It is, and these two will know that one will have to win and one will have to lose in terms of these two putting it together, leaving everything they possibly have out there on the circuit. They're doing 146s out there at the moment, and Akabuzi starting to turn the screw about 0.4 of a second, but every time you get on this straight, it's so sleek. It's a very, very profiled punch through the air that creates this beautiful amount of draft through Blanchimont over towards the chicane. Now Connor Harrington lifting out slightly, just waiting for time to get into play. Looking at the clock, yes, we are on the final lap of this race. Ben Fuller crosses the line. He'll be 4 seconds short, about 3 seconds short by his pace. But now on the brakes they go, and straight on goes Hamilton Akabuzi. He's looking for a great run coming off of the exit then of the last horse hairpin. He may be playing the mind games with Harrington.
Yeah, but you got to be careful about how far you go out there. I know that sometimes the sim doesn't like it, but it looks like Akabuzi right in the slipstream. Now he's going to take advantage of Connor Harrington, as you see the number 78 go defensive to drivers, right? And there it is. Yep.
He hits the limiter almost then going up the hill. They only hit 3.5, 3.6 in kilometers an hour, so 190 miles an hour. So he didn't have enough oomph to get up the hill, to make it happen, down the hill, then trying to go through. This is where the middle sector is going to be key for Akabuzi. He's got to stay in range here in this race in second position, force a mistake out of Harrington, and know that this is the sort of race he is trying to throw absolutely everything at to get as many points as he possibly can. There is great racing up and down the order. Top 10, for example, is still on, but at the moment, there is your driver at the front. Is there ever any doubt in terms of who he is, his resume in sim racing, and why he is head and shoulders above this field here tonight around the circuit, the Spa-Francorchamps? The heat race is going to be in his back pocket without any worries at all. Ben Fuller comes to the line and will take it. For second, it is on because Harrington is on the wrong side of the road. He'll defend that final corner, and will he get drive off the exit? It will be close between them, but Harrington will hold Hamilton Akabuzi out of that second place as there's been a spin on the final lap, and big damage is that Melillo trying to get himself home.
Oh, it's Ryan Narwaki that's having problems, and then I believe that's Andrew Schultz. That avoidance right here, all on the final lap.
Yeah, now they're going to have to try and limp home, and definitely not what Navarocki wanted. And easily for number one, a case of I wish that didn't happen, was in 13th position overall, spinning it on his own, coming out the Fania chicane. Not a place you traditionally say, I'm losing the car.
No, but, you know, anything can definitely happen, and you talk about the tire compounds out there and these cars running on the softer of the compounds and just kind of struggling here at the end of the race. Yeah, now he's stuck.
Yeah, and that's what you get sometimes out there in racing. It'll be a shame for Ryan. He won't be classified as a finisher then from this heat, but he is in a place where you got to look at that yellow wall medium compound tire. It was starting to go for some of these drivers, and you have to drive smoothly, Joey, through some of these corners. Let's take a little look, though, at results, because we got a chance to. Ben Fuller wins by 10.9 in the end over Connor Harrington, who had to work hard, with Hamilton Akabuzi in third. It's Brandon Hawk in fourth, Ben Goyette fifth, Zach Mitchell, Brian Zabelski, Robert Lowry, Ryan Pandicio, and rounding out the top 10 overall, Paul Mikolajczyk, who was on the pole position. Over the page, Nicholas Pressey would finish 11th ahead of John Paul. Justin Melillo is 13th, with Jamie Ritchie-Price, Andrew Schultz, and Matthew Brewer, the last finisher on the lead lap. Naroki 1 lap down, Stoltz 1 lap down, Jonathan Goke will be 4 laps down out there in terms of what is needed from them. We're going to step aside one moment, though, here with FTF.GG and, of course, the brilliant racing here at the circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. This is your modern racing prince, FTF1 season, round 4 on the road, and it is here at this wonderful circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. And we are back with the Grand Prix de Spa-Francorchamps, your modernracingprince.com FTF1 Series. It is 45 minutes up and coming, or 22 laps, whichever will come along first. And if race 1 was anything to go by, that stinted start, Joey, brought the safety car out, and it brought it out for a good reason. These drivers need to know that lap 1 is all about survival in these machines. You bring the field close together. It's so easy for the track, especially up on top of the circuit, where they went from what used to be public road over towards what the racetrack road is in terms of how it was designed. That part of the circuit is where it gets quite narrow.
It does get narrow, but I mean, you throw cold tires, you put everybody on the same piece of the racetrack, you put a big drafting opportunity in. It's kind of just throwing all of the perfect ingredients into the pot and then stirring it up and then saying, hey guys, everybody, let's go have some fun out there and pack everyone into that narrow part of the racetrack like you're mentioning. And I'm not surprised to see a couple cars fly off, but you mentioned it. It was a little bit chaotic, and I think we'll see it a little bit cleaner here for race 2, but I think attrition still going to play a big part here.
It is. I think we're going to have a little bit more leeway in terms of what they need, but these drivers need to navigate pit lane, Joey, in this next race, and let's be just completely frank about it. It's a single track pit lane entrance.
Absolutely. And you got to be careful even coming off a pit lane too. You remember it's very sharp and you got to avoid the walls. And trust me, pit lane can catch you out if you're not paying attention. I'm always a fan of, hey, hit your marks. These are some of the areas of the race that you don't always practice lap after lap, and they can cost you big amounts of track position.
They certainly can. As we watch Brandon Hawkin hit the brakes, warm-up is complete. And the field then for qualifying is set completely on where everybody has managed to finish in that opening race. So everybody's going to be lining up, and row 2, I think, is the most important one out there, Joey. Hamilton Akabuzi, Brandon Hawkin, those two right now, 3rd and 4th. The title contenders are there. Yes, it's early in the season, but you have to talk about this early in the season.
It's where you start to build the momentum. Championship runs don't just form out of thin air. They start as a snowball, and then you push it down the hill. All of a sudden, you build bigger and bigger, and that's where you build those championship efforts.
Yeah, you got drivers then who are looking to try and make some progress. Justin Melillo, 3rd in the championship coming into this one. This is damage limitation for the number 2 here today. He's got work to do to hold into place, and the likes, of course, of Jonathan Goke down there at the back of the pack, someone who is very good on the ovals, is going to be looking to try and get as much as possible out of his run today. Lots of different strategies out there. Some drivers on the soft, some on the medium, some on the hard. It's a case of who's going to go with what here for 45 minutes. Green flag in the air. We're underway. Some great starts, some slow starts. Ben Goyette getting off to a good start. Then he moves up immediately into 3rd. Troubles already for Brandon Hawkin. He almost mounts Robert Lowry, who made a good start then off of the line. So troubles immediately then for Hawkin once again. They've got to be careful off of this start as they now run through.
Very tricky, and I saw Ryan Pandiscio also with the black flag. He had a jump start, but out front right now it's Connor Harrington trying to make a move on Ben Fuller. Ben Fuller's on driver's right. Connor Harrington is going to take the lead for the first time tonight.
He is, and he'll be so happy about that. Moving up through into the race lead, and Akabuzi with no turning speed at all, and it checks up massively, and now you got troubles. A completely jammed track. What on earth happened there?
Oh, I think it was Robert Lowry got tangled up with, I believe, Hamilton Akabuzi, and then cars just got tangled up, Jake. We have a yellow flag on the racetrack, which is rightfully so. Almost a little bit of deja vu, but this time maybe 200 yards further down the racetrack.
Well, Akabuzi was out of the way in the grass, and then by the time he was going through, I wonder if he had some technical issues like a screen freeze or something like that, because it was very awkward what he was doing, and I'm sure the stewards are going to have to ask for a bit more clarification out of Akabuzi here, as you got drivers down in on the pits already as they've been trying to get themselves through. But at least at this moment in time, it will be Connor Harrington who's out there with the race lead. The safety car out on track. Now, this is what we talk about here. Starts are interesting. Now, watch for the jump start here out on circuit. We'll focus then, see, okay, how much did you move? How much did you jump forward by? Yeah, you can see on the left, just a little push forward. It doesn't matter if you jump by an inch, you jump by a mile, you jump the start, Joey. At that point, you'd probably question, well, if you jump by a little bit, what's the difference between jumping a lot? And there's the hit from Brandon Hawkin.
Yeah, you saw on the outside there, and I agree with you, but I think that Ryan did the right thing. You don't want to go rocketing up past the grid, and it doesn't look too bad from this angle, but you actually look at it from a different angle. He almost goes all the way up into the next grid line.
Oh, and that is not what you want to do, and they're going to get you every single time in terms of that. So drama's there. So this is how the field stacks up then after the opening lap. Connor Harrington leads this race, and in second position is Ben Fuller. Brandon Hawkin is third, but look at this. Nicholas Pressey up into fourth position. John Paul the third is fifth. Ben Goyette back down to sixth. Then it's Jamie Ritchie Price and Ryan Narocki in eighth. And then you got Josh Stoltz and Andrew Schulte in 10th, and he's doing quite well. But you got drivers up nine places up on this start, 7 places up, because they just managed to avoid the instant up the top of the hill.
But also, let's take a look at those tires, because that's going to come into play. Remember, here in race 2, you got to use 2 different sets of tires, or I should say 2 different compounds of tires. And one of those cars, Josh Stoltz, up 10 positions, is on those soft. So not only was he able to navigate around the wreck, but he is also in a prime opportunity on some soft tires to move up a couple more positions on a restart.
Let's take a look at what happened to championship leader Hamilton Akabuzi. So he's going to be in a bit of trouble. So this is what makes it so difficult out there on track. There is the aftermath of what happened. So here he is racing for third, trying to go around the outside. He gets there, but by the time he gets through, it's almost like he loses a gear or something, has no drive, goes through the corner, gets out, slows it down. But here's the issue he's got. He's slowing it down right on the racing line. And that's where the stewards are going to ask, okay, Hamilton, what happened? That's not normal.
I agree with you. You know, at first glance, it just looks kind of like an issue that was going on. And maybe if we can watch the gear selection, see if he loses a transmission or something. But right here, he goes off pace, he goes offline, and then all of a sudden the car doesn't accelerate. He's stuck in fifth.
Stuck in fifth. That will do it. Stuck in fifth. Can't really do anything about it. That could be anything out there in terms of just not getting anything. Some drivers use a H-pattern gearbox, Joey, for example, and can't actually get the gear, physically get the gear. So that could be something where Hamilton Akabuzi is just going to look around and go, well, he's stuck in fifth gear. It's not often that you get to see that.
No, and I mean, failures happen in all sorts of kinds, and I'm actually looking at something else that's happening on the racetrack here, Jake. There's some cars coming down pit road. Now, there could be coming down to get some damage fixed, but do you think some of these are maybe taking the opportunity to change those tires and say, hey, that's it, that's all I'm going to do?
Yeah, Justin Melillo, I think, someone who's doing that, because he started on the soft tyre. He's moved now onto the white-walled hard compound tyre. He's good to the end of the race, making that early pit stop. And for some drivers in the back, that safety car period is going to be good, because they don't have to come down again. Those at the front of this field who have the track position right now, they are going to have to make a stop under green flag racing conditions. They will hope, because they know they've got to build a gap early now in this phase of the race, 39 minutes remaining on the clock, to just go and say, this is what we have to do. Build a gap, build some time, and just then make a pit stop.
I really like this call from Justin Melillo out here. I think that if you're in the back, you know, there's no point in just kind of following the leader. Let's roll the dice a little bit. Let's go off strategy. Let's do something new. And I think with this safety car, it gives him an opportunity to do that, to do something different. And just going to have to see how it ends up, because one thing we haven't seen is those white wall tires, how far they can actually go.
A fair way. They are the most durable of the tires that they have here in the FTF1 series. We haven't really talked about tire changing over the season because they have been locked in on tires when it's come to the ovals, but here on the roadside you've got that choice of tire, and it's very much got that Indy style feel to it in terms of going from a locked tire to an unlocked tire when they hit the road courses. It is Ben Fuller who has himself a wait as he will look at what he's got in front of him. The answer, of course, is Connor Harrington, number 78, out there on track. Fuller is going to be looking around saying, what can I do? He's on the hard. He'll look at Harrington, who is on the medium. So split strategy at the front of the field. Power off the exit then of the final chicane. Green flag will be back in the air and we'll be racing once again here at Spa.
Connor Harrington with a textbook restart does a great job, but the problem is now that slipstream that is so powerful. Ben Fuller is going to be right in a good opportunity, but look at this. Brandon Hawkins going to be good as well. Who's going to run out of gear the quickest?
Fuller to the left-hand side. Up the Camel Straight's going to get there, but can you side draft your way back alongside? The answer is yes for Connor Harrington, who's going to hit the brakes and is going to dictate where Ben Fuller can go. He's in a race at this moment in time as they charge on around Malmedy Corner and back towards Bruxelles once more. It's been a nice, solid start from everybody in the field. No real dramas to speak of at the moment, but the top three all there. And now all of a sudden, Ben Fuller's looking behind in the mirrors for the Canadian there, Brandon Hawkins.
Yeah, Brandon Hawkins smelling a little bit of blood in the water. This is the first time that Ben Fuller has been in any sort of dirty air, and Connor Harrington doing an excellent job right now, capitalizing on the clean racetrack in front of him, laying down some great sector times. Wonder if Brandon Hawkins is going to have an opportunity to potentially stick a nose in coming off of the straightaway going into the chicane.
Yeah, Connor Harrington laying down the law at this stage, and he'll be hoping that he is the law, and Ben Fuller not hoping that he fights the law and the law won at this moment. But Hawkins, with a really good run, is going to stay in that margin, 1, 2, and 3, and he'll be hoping for the double draft up the straight to give himself that slingshot compared to these drivers up in front. Fourth and fifth, interesting as well, because that's Nicholas Pressey, Jamie Ritchie-Price, and that is a junkyard at the chicane.
Oh no, looks like maybe Brian Zabelski involved in this one back here. Also Ryan Narwaki trying to get going, but there are several cars involved in that one. And Jake, something we didn't mention, I didn't catch this, but Connor Harrington's actually on those yellow tires while Fuller and Hawkins are both on the whites.
Yeah, which means that Harrington's going to be on a little bit more of a tougher tyre in the second half of the stint. He's going to be a driver who will be pitting before Fuller and Hawkins. But Fuller and Hawkins now have to be alert to how they drive their car, because, of course, the more that they sit behind Connor Harrington in this race, the more they're going to be churning up those white-walled hard tyres.
Yeah, and that just kind of plays into Connor Harrington's hands. And what his strategy, our leader right now, is run as fast as you can, burn those things up. It doesn't matter. I need qualifying laps, every single lap out of you. Let me know when they go off of the cliff. We'll get you in, and then we'll put those hard white wall tires on you.
By comparison, Hamilton Akabuzi in 9th place has his eyes set on Ben Goyette in 8th, which is an important battle out there, or shall I say now 8th and 7th out on circuit. There has been issues for John Poole over this lap. He's now dropped backwards into the 9th position out on track. So every place is a checkpoint as he goes through. So I'm sure that this is going to be a really good battle out there. You can see side by side, and Akabuzi so much later on the brakes there. He just cruised through there at the final chicane.
Looks like Hamilton Akabuzi, whatever problems he had earlier on, got him fixed right now, trying to chase down Josh Stoltz right in front of him, and will have an opportunity because he is in that tow range.
he is in that tow range, and you talk about being within about 1.5 seconds, you've got a chance to really be in the slipstream and get a chance up the straight to make an overtake. That's the key out there, is just running the gauntlet. And on Josh Stoltz, Akabuzi has another chance, closes right up, hits the braking zone, isn't going to be able to get there to make that pass, but you're now just going to have to play the patience game. You are waiting for opportunities, you are looking for passes to go and make itself happen, but you know that the middle sector of this lap is probably the place where it's the least likely to happen, and you're waiting for the 2 long runs of high-end speed to make the passes you want.
The good passing opportunities, you're right, are at the end of those long straightaways, and I wouldn't say you're stuck here in these twisty sectors. You can go up there and apply pressure, but a pass is more opportune to happen from a mistake being made than maybe the door opening to make an aggressive move. But here we go. Hamilton Akabuzi right on the back wing of Stoltz.
On the back wing, a driver who has led the championship entirely through this season, won the opening race of the season and has been holding that station since. Through he goes off the road, trying to get back to pits is Navrocki, trying to stay out of the way of everyone. It looks like he's had a tangle out on track, and his car damaged to the point where he needs the pit stop ASAP.
I believe he had a meatball flag on Navrocki back there, and then this is another problem. Oh no, I believe this is Ryan trying to get to pit road here. That's what we were taking a look at.
Now the question is, how far back can he go? We do have takers in the lane. We do have racing out there with the top 3. Fuller waiting here on Harrington, and you got Hawk in there in 3rd place, just trying to be patient. I can confirm that Navrocki has gone down into the pit, so he has just about managed to make it and has not been given the disqualification flag for going backwards on track.
Such a shame out there, and got to be careful of everything you're doing. But Jake, looking at the front here, I'm really impressed with what Connor Harrington is doing. I've been looking at the lap times, and he's been able to hold the pace, this 1:45 pace, even on those yellow tires. I'm seeing here 31 minutes. We're coming up to 30 minutes remaining. I feel if he can squeak out maybe even 1 or 2 more laps, if there's a window, if there's a gap, let's get in, let's get those tires swapped and start running some more laps on the hards.
Yeah, he'll be thinking about those laps, how much he can do, but the Apex Academy car, Ben Fuller, is certainly hoping that he can make some passes and make them quickly out there on circuit. 1, 2, through that final chicane. This is one of the few circuits as well that you talk about, Joey, that has a little bit of extra dispensation compared to others. It's over FIA grade distance for a grade 1 track by 4 meters.
Such a shame, you know? But hey, you know what? I'd rather have sometimes bigger is better. Look at the spectacle that this racetrack is. I mean, here in North America, there's a few racetracks that I would love to travel to go and just even see. This one is on the top of the list for sure.
Oh, it is, and this is the sort of track where you actually look at it in terms of where it goes for eventing. Its ticket pricing is actually so good. It's actually cheaper for someone who lives in the United Kingdom to see the Belgian races than it is to go and see what's going on. And there is troubles there through the final chicane, and that's no good for one of the drivers who's down in the pits. Is that Melillo? Yes, it's Melillo in for another stop. Josh Stoltz, who made a pit stop, finds himself now making more mistakes.
Yeah, a little bit further in the back. Melillo's 16th and Stoltz back there 15th, just trying to get the cars fixed back up as we jump back up. Ben Fuller. Now, something we are noticing here is that it looks like he's doing a little bit of fuel save in 2nd place. Now, with the pit stop, I wonder how much that's going to pay dividends with a little bit of a shorter stop, not having to put as much fuel in the car.
Yeah, fuel is going to be key. So those drivers who made those pit stops, they're only getting the tyre off that they didn't want. But now this is where you're going to start thinking about it. Yes, he does lift off there. You could see it on the Cosworth dash that he's got there. He is really lifting out of it. He is not looking to push at all at this stage of the race. He is happy to sit behind Harrington because he knows that Harrington's on a much, much more degradable tyre. He doesn't have to worry about that so much. Now, I do wonder if we could get a replay potentially of what happened to Justin Melillo coming into the pits, because I thought that was absolutely hilarious what happened when he turned up to pit entry and found not exactly what he was hoping to see.
See if we can cue this up here. I didn't catch this one, Jake.
Well, here we go, up into the chicane. This is why Josh Stoltz was around in front of him. So he comes up along and, oh, hello, Josh Stoltz. Has to take a chicane, a detour to get into the pits.
Now I understand and see what you're talking about, and yeah, not something you would expect to see entering pit lane there.
No, so this is what happened to Josh Stoltz going through that final chicane. Now, it's off camber through that final chicane, which makes it so difficult out there. It's had many iterations, a bus stop once upon a time, but yeah, just over the curb. And you see how the wheels just gained air over through, up onto two wheels, pretty much a bunny hop at that point. And that was just a case of being too aggressive around this circuit. Those anti-cut curbs, there for a reason.
And I love it because it's such an awkward moment. Stoltz was doing the right thing. He saw Melillo coming up, so he said, all right, I'm going to stay right here away off the line. But Melillo said, hey, I'm actually trying to go to pit lane. And he was like, okay, I'll go this way.
Yeah, pretty much the way that had to be conducted with those drivers. Harrington, though, leading this race, sensing that Ben Fuller is just playing the long game. Ben Fuller has pace bound up underneath him for days and days and days, and it's almost like watching a cat playing with its prey at the moment, the way Ben Fuller's going about his racing action. He doesn't have to go and make these moves. He doesn't have to go out there and be aggressive. He is just waiting for the time when Connor Harrington in front has to jump into the pits, and he will dive on through. Speaking of moves, Hamilton Akabuzi has just made the pass up into the top 5. He's just got by Nicholas Pressey for position.
Nice. Move that number 99 up one more spot into the top 5. And he's actually not that far behind the number 75 of Jamie Ritchie Price, who's just up the road. But check this out. Nicholas Pressey going to have the opportunity of the slipstream. We'll see what he does. If he goes to driver's right, he's going to opt to stay right behind Hamilton Akabuzi. Maybe learn a thing or two, suck up to that position number 4 car just up the road.
Yeah, and sometimes when you're out there as a driver, and you've had this understanding, Joey, from your racing experiences, how crucial is it for you to follow in the wheel tracks as someone who's quicker?
Oh, well, I wouldn't necessarily say follow in the wheel tracks, but take notes, right? There's a reason why he went up there and passed you. It means he's faster than you, so find out where he's faster than you. Is he going wider on entry? Is he able to rotate the car more? Just break out that notepad, that pen and paper, and figure it out.
Yeah, you're going to have to make a mental note everywhere you go on track. Struggling a little bit there through Fania as Pressey, and he will now start to drop a little bit further back in terms of this group. Akabuzi looking to try and charge on forward towards Jamie Ritchie Price. They will all note that this is a race where every place is going to matter, no more so than what's going on for 9th and 10th positions out there. Jonathan Goke and Ryan Pandisio having a really nice race. Andrew Schulte just there holding on, saying, wait for me, in 11th place.
You're right. He is kind of hanging on there, trying to catch up. And you see, with them going side by side, it may actually provide an opportunity for Schulte to catch up here to this battle. And look at that. Just as you were predicting, Jake, now he's there.
He is there, and he will have long straights to go and work with. That run to the Lassource hairpin, not traditionally a place you can find a pass easy. And the thing is, with that Lassource hairpin, Joey, it's on camber. Not often that you get to say that.
Well, no, it's not often that you get to say that, but there are some oddities in every racetrack, and Spa is not one of those tracks that kind of leaves that asterisk out.
No, that is very true. Here's the move over to the inside from Pandisio, looking to make the pass on Jonathan Goke, and he will get it through into Lay Coombe, and that is as comfortable can be had the room, made the pass, made it stick quite comfortably, but now Goke's going to have to work hard to get back through, and he makes a big mistake on his medium tyres, and he will lose the place to Schulte.
Yeah, just like that, it can go and slip away from you. Now, something I want to talk about, Jake. Look at the timer. We're 12 laps to go. With what we're looking at with these tire compounds, I don't know if this is going to fall into Connor Harrington's lap anymore, because these cars that started on those white, harder tires, they are potentially shortening this final stint to go to a soft tire.
Well, it depends on how long they go. I think this is going to be a case of how are they going to get there? Is there going to be such an incident that maybe brings a safety car out, which means that it's going to be laps or time? It's very close in that range, but they all know they have to change their tyres at some point. And I wonder at what point Ben Fuller decides he wants to go out there and make an overtake. He's not going to make one at the moment here, as Harrington, again, being put under the cosh, but doing a brilliant job of things at the moment. But with 11 laps to go, you figure if Harrington can extend this out by 4 laps, there or thereabouts, he has a chance to go on to the soft and pit with everybody else.
I totally agree, and I think, yeah, it's a little bit of an odd strategy. I see what Fuller and Hawken are doing. It's definitely playing into their strategy, and to kind of set the scene, we did 10 laps in that Heat 1 race, so we're right on that verge of kind of mirroring what we saw earlier in terms of tire life.
Yeah, and these top 3, currently the podium, are going to be thinking, well, this is exactly what I want to see out there. These drivers all pushing, all trying to get what they want out of the race. But you also have to consider behind championship. Hawken in 3rd will be happy with this. More points in this main race, of course. But Hamilton Akabuzi getting it covered, and he's almost at the cusp of making perfect damage limitation to be back up into 4th place.
Yeah, Akabuzi now caught up to Jamie Ritchie Price as we stay right here. Ben Fuller. Oh, look at this. Here's the move that we were just talking about. Akabuzi going around the outside of Jamie Ritchie Price, now up to 4th place position.
Yeah, but you're going to have to ask, how much of a penalty will there be for Akabuzi coming out of this race with the issues that he had up the hill on lap 1 of this feature race we've got going on. Race lead battle still maintains its interesting poise at this moment, with Harrington, with Fuller, and with Hawken, and with Ben Fuller just lifting off once more, trying to get to a position where he can just save as much fuel as he can. This is where it gets interesting. Now, that is a car off the road. That is Schulte once again. Andrew Schulte with troubles at the final chicane.
Schulte with a couple problems earlier, now having more problems on the racetrack. And you see, I wonder if he's got damage or maybe just the tire still very, very hot, struggling with the car underneath him.
It's a case of both. I think it's a case of he struggled to get through the corner, nearly looped it, tried to put the power down. And the one thing we haven't really talked about, Joey, is just how much torque these cars have.
Well, the naturally aspirated motors, what that means is as soon as you get on the throttle, it is twitchy. You see that coupled with an old tire, and it's a little bit like trying to drive on some worn-out gummy bears.
Well, gummy bear isn't necessarily the most round, I would say, and that's what makes it...
Gummy worm wrap tires, I should say.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's still a case where you're pretty much driving on gelatin, which is not the easiest thing to do out there in the world. Now, laps continue to be ticked off on the board, and there is a little search into the pit. Brandon Hawken deciding the fate of everybody else. He's going to need a mega outlap here to get himself through. 9 laps to go. He pits and makes that decision. Akabuzi for the moment will jump ahead of him in terms of championship points, but he knows that he's got a margin, and Brandon Hawken, in terms of what he goes on to in tyre, is the medium.
And look at this. Ben Fuller says now was the time, but Connor Harrington going to do that same side draft we saw early in the race. This time, Ben Fuller persists, and he takes the lead.
And this is where Ben Fuller knows he can't afford to sit back anymore. Couldn't keep playing that game with Connor Harrington. Knows how important it is. Harrington taking the Uber line. Going through that. It was very much the wet weather line there at Bruchel.
Well, I was noticing the lap fall off. We were down to 2 seconds a lap slower, and Ben Fuller was just doing an expert job saving his tires, saving his fuel. And as soon as we saw Brandon Hawken throw down that strategy card, the number 57 said, all right, time to go.
Yeah, train is pretty much reaching station. Ding, 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 all aboard. Ben Fuller needs to have some big laps. Brandon Hawken will be what he's looking at by comparison. So this is a key phase of the race where every single second counts. And how good will Ben Fuller's stop be? How limitless was he in terms of his fuel save? And you get that in terms of drivers. The best drivers out there, the fastest drivers, are often the best fuel savers. In comes Ben Fuller.
Oh, and he was in the best position following Connor Harrington the whole time. I think he maximized the best out of our top three, and interesting to see Connor Harrington stay on the racetrack. I was not expecting that one.
I wasn't either. Both Akabuzi and Jamie Ritchie-Price dive into the pits behind as well. There is one Mr. Brandon Hawken, and will Ben Fuller be able to come out ahead? He'll be flicking right through the hairpin there of La Source and get up to speed. That's the difference maker at the moment. Hawken will have speed more and will have the slipstream, but can he close up to Ben Fuller up through Erouge and Raddy on the right? Answer to that is no for the moment. On the Camel, I think Ben Fuller's covered this off and done just about enough, but he'll have the game off. Does he want to get into play? Here comes Brandon Hawken driving by and taking the race lead.
Really interesting to see Ben Fuller lifted on the straightaway right there. He's opting to follow Brandon Hawken right now. And Jake, talk to me a little bit about what you think that strategy might be here, other than purely saving tire.
Saving tire, saving fuel, maybe he slightly underfilled it at the stop.
Yeah.
That might be an option. I think Ben Fuller as well, knowing with the pace he's got, it might be something as centric as, I just want to race someone.
I agree. I think I love seeing that is actually racing, settling it on the racetrack rather than just kind of driving off and having a little bit of a lonely race here. And looks like we're actually coming up to a car. This is Nicholas Pressey these cars are running up on, I believe.
This is for position. Pressey hasn't yet made his pit stop, and this will have to be a case of dive through and find a lane here at Blanchimont. Thank you very much. They make their move. Ben Fuller happy to sit and wait in terms of his opportunities, and then into the final chicane. Pressey having to just sit and watch as those two go on by. Harrington in the pit as it stands. He should drop a fair ways back of those drivers. Still there, still waiting and trying to get going. He might actually fall, Connor Harrington, into the clutches of Hamilton Akabuzi. It'll be close, but Harrington does have the mark at this point.
It doesn't look like Akabuzi will quite be able to catch him, but that pit stop strategy, I think Connor Harrington just went 1 or 2 laps too long, and this time we've got Ben Fuller alongside. He's going to overtake Brandon Hawken. No lifting down the straightaway this time.
No, none this time, and you can sense the confidence that Ben Fuller is driving with. This is a car that you look at and go, you either tame this car or the car tames you. And I think we've seen maybe 19 drivers out there over the course of racing today that have had this car tame them. Ben Fuller's the only one who knows truly how to tame this car.
We saw it in qualifying, we saw it in Heat 1, and now that he's out in clean air, it seems to be that he has put the foot down. He has turned off the mirrors, turned off the black boxes, and he's just kind of in a league of his own again.
Yeah, and that gap already 0.7 of a second, and he's looking to try and stretch and break Brandon Hawken as much as he possibly can. With 7 laps to go, it will be 6 when he reaches the line, and he is driving off into the sunset with the way that he is going. And the Indiana kid is certainly proving that once again he is Mr. Open Wheel when it comes to iRacing, and that is someone who had a little bit of trouble there going through Les Combes. So that not ideal, but Mr. Open Wheel is on it again.
Yeah, and you see him doing a little bit of some weaving down the straightaway. All he's trying to do is break that toe, break that draft that we've talked about being so strong. And Brandon Hawken just flirting right there, that three quarters of a second, still in that range that he gets sucked up in there. Maybe another lap or two Ben Fuller's going to have to lay down in order to try to break that gap.
In the pits for the final time is Nicholas Pressey. There is one car who I believe is out, and it's Ryan Pandisio, who is now out of the race a lap down, and he's missing the rear right tyre. So he's had an issue, and his issues come along actually over at Campus Corner, which is not a place you traditionally say, I'm out the race. So let's have a look. So this is the first one that we're going to see. So look at this. Through the right. Oh, dear. That's definitely not where you want to be. So that's Zach Mitchell, I believe, finding his troubles. And then Pandisio here, Joey. Now, this is interesting. He just overcooks it into the corner and bang into the wall there. You can see the rear right suspension caving.
Well, and something to notice about both Mitchell and Pandisio, they were on early laps on those tires from coming out of pit lane. Still cold on those warm-up laps. Still cold.
Jonathan Goke still trying to push with the Air Force car, knowing that he's got Stoltz just behind him. Mikolajczyk all there as well. And Mikolajczyk falling backwards over the course of this has lost a lot of time in comparison to Matthew Brewer. So this has not been a good lap for Mikolajczyk, who's going backwards and backwards and backwards.
No, I think that Paul is going to want to forget tonight after the lap 1 incident in the first race, and then just kind of struggling and hanging on right here. Although I'm sure if he can move up one position, he'd be happy with top 10, walk away from it with something.
Yeah, he's just come out of the pit. It's in there in front of them. It's trouble. Goke goes, that's not Goke, sorry, going around. That is going to be more dramas out there. In fact, it was Goke going around. So Goke finding all sorts of dramas out there on track. And him going around is going to mean that everybody else goes through. So this is where it happens, through Fania, and you're trying to transfer that energy through the corner, the right into the left, and it's very easy for the car to get unsettled.
It's a fast switchback. You're rolling on the throttle, and I think I saw Goke also climb up a little bit on that inside curb, and that's going to upset the aero platform. An unhappy race car is never easy to drive.
No, it's not, and race car backwards is race car, but if the race car ends up down, it's very much expensive. It's going to be a case where Ben Goyette now loses out position. Nicholas Pressey on the softs, the late pit stop. He will jump through and gain that place. Ooh, he's still got a car somehow.
Big wiggle coming down the hill, but that's going to open up the door here. This is a fast part of the racetrack.
It is double gauche left on the power through, 300 Ks on the brakes. They are taking Fania at 180 kilometers an hour here through the left and the right, these two drivers. They are absolutely going for it here through at the campus corner, then through Stavelot, which connects the old circuit to the new. Of course, they had that brilliant old circuit in the most revered corner in all of racing history that is no longer with us, the Master Kink, as it's side by side to Blanchimont, and they're gonna hold, and Pressey still with the advantage on the inside. Brilliant stuff.
Boy, it takes it really deep on the brake, side by side through both turns of the chicane. This is going to put Ben in the prime position. He puts the power down. Now Pressey's going to try to find a way to come back on him.
Yeah, back to the outside, trying to search with the on-camber corner. Power on the exit would be nice. Can't quite manage enough of that. So it's going to stay as it is for the moment. Pressey quite impressed over the radio, going, yeah, that's good. But now, what about this? Up the hill, stays out of tow initially because he wants to just slowly pull up alongside. He doesn't want to breeze through, get that switch back to come through with the side draft. Happy to get it alongside, side by side. Goyette covers on the inside. Pressey can't turn in.
Oh, can't turn in there. And oh, look at this. Finally getting zippered out single file, a little bit of gap between the cars, but that was one heck of a battle, all for 6th place.
Yeah, Jonathan Goke has towed the car back to the pit, so his day full of troubles around the circuit to Spa-Francorchamps. But at least at this point in time, Nicholas Pressey and, of course, Ben Goyette, what an incredible battle they've been having out there on circuit. Has been well worth the watch between them in the final stages. At the front of the field, though, the gap is extending, and the gap is currently at 1.4 between Ben Fuller and Brandon Hawkin. Fuller, in terms of his last lap out there in this race, was a 1:44.8, but it's worth noting in terms of the way that he's driving, his official fastest lap is a 45.6 because he's been using up so much of the instant points. And there you can see side by side again, Goyette on the outside, Pressey on the inside, turns to the outside, and now it's about drive off the exit.
Oh, man, this is a great battle. You know, I thought maybe there was a tire difference between these two, but looks like both Goyette and Pressey on the red tires. But one thing to note between this battle, Pressey has 3 laps fresher on those tires.
3 laps fresher, which is giving just that extra bit of advantage, and we consider that's probably about a 10% tyre advantage the way they're going. They've got Ryan Pandisio behind them, who's trying to get into the mix and unlap himself on these two. Goyette to the outside, Pressey on the inside then, and again it's Goyette around the outside, who is so much more confident under braking.
Well, the other reason why I mentioned that difference in the tires is we got 3 laps to go, or, you know, about 2.5 laps to go. That's right kind of at that fall off where those red tires kind of hit that plateau. Is Goyette going to be able to hang on, or is the fresher tires of Pressey going to prevail?
Well, that's going to be the question that we look at towards the end of this race. Who has got enough to really sense an argument out there that they can win? Nicholas Pressey happy to hold at this point, running through the Fania chicanes as they now drive on, knowing that every single second matters. Gaps extending throughout this field. It's now 2 seconds for Brandon Hawkin. His race slowly into I would say, a tepid finish for him in second. But now, with Pressey understanding, well, what do? The last thing you want is Ryan Pandisio sticking his nose into this race going on for what is 6th position.
As they go side by side into the final chicane one more time. Room given between all of these competitors. I agree, you don't want to see Ryan Pandisio back there, but I don't think I've seen Ryan do anything bad. He's not being aggressive. He's not making moves. He's just purely there watching the battle.
He is a spectator at this point to these drivers at this moment. With 2 laps to go, they're trying to figure out, okay, what can I do? Where can I find the moment to make this pass? And Pressey wants to make an overtake that is decisive, and he will move to the left-hand side to try and make that happen. Ben Goyette, though, I think's a little bit better on the power. I think he's got a car that certainly works a lot better on the straight at the high-end speeds.
Well, and we've seen Goyette be able to be monster on the brakes, whether that's at the end of that straightaway or going into the final chicane. Either side of the racetrack, left or right, it seems like Ben very confident when it comes to being on the brakes.
He is, and Ben Goyette has a lot of open wheel experience, and he is making that show. White flag approaching for Ben Fuller. His lead is over 2 seconds. Last time they crossed the line, a little bit slower there as he came over, but he's still got a 1.8 second margin at this point in time. It's Connor Harrington in 3rd. There is Hamilton Akabuzi in 4th. He will drop back, and that's troubles out there, and I believe that is Pressey.
Yeah, that was Nicholas Pressey. We were just watching him following Ben Goyette, and just a little bit of, we saw this out of another car. He hit the apex curb, and it unsettled it. Around he went by himself.
Yeah, on his own, and that's just pure pressure at that point. That's what makes drivers struggle so much out there, is the expectations you put on yourself out there. Ben Fuller going through the middle sector for the final time tonight here at the Grand Prix de Spa-Francorchamps.
Down the hill one more final time to the lowest point on the racetrack. Ben Fuller just has to keep doing what he's been doing all night, That means turn consistent sector times, and he is going to be looking at another checkered flag, just another about quarter of the circuit remaining for him.
He is a driver who is a truly special talent. Someone who has gone out time and time again and troubles them potentially for Connor Harrington. He is out on the final lap from third position as he found the wall at Les Combes. So he finds himself out going forward. Ben Fuller, though, Mr. Open Wheel, is finding out just what makes him so special. He goes over and takes the double tonight here at Spa. No doubts about it.
What a run for that number 57, claiming the victory. Brandon Hawken finishing second. Hamilton Akabuze rounding out your podium.
And troubles there for Nicholas Pressey, who's desperately trying to get that car going and desperately trying to find a finish, but his car is very much in a case of not quite being able to get that pointed back in the right direction, so he will drop a huge amount of places, and he's at risk actually. Oh, he's really struggling out there. That might be not him finding a finish. That's Josh Stoltz. He's now the last runner. He's in 12th place.
Some kind of broken hearts out there on the racetrack. Sometimes it happens early in the race. Sometimes it happens in the final laps, Jake.
Yeah, and this one for Connor Harrington, just running out of soft, sliding rear, goes around, and he does a full 360 into the barriers. And when he was under no threat in third position, that is a heartbreaker.
You see just how worn these tires are. He's already loose coming through the switchback. And I mean, I mentioned driving on the gummy worms. Like, there's nothing at that point. You're just along for the ride.
Yeah, Ben Fuller, though, he was pretty much in control of his ride. He takes the victory in 41 minutes and 25 seconds. He wins by 2.3 over Brandon Hawken, with Hamilton Akabuze, the ultimate damage limitation, back to third position. But he will know coming over the line that he pretty much is not going to be happy with what happened on lap one. Jamie Ritchie Price will finish off in fourth, with Ben Goyette rounding the top five. Matthew Brewer will be in sixth, with Paul Mikolajczyk seventh, Andrew Schulte in eighth, and then it's John and Josh, two J's, John Paul and Josh Stoltz, ninth and 10th positions. Connor Harrington and Nicholas Pressey are going to struggle to find finishes. Pressey then will be heading towards the line, might be able to take 11th position away, but those are lapped down. Brian Shabelski, Ryan Pandicio, and then the retirees, Jonathan Goke, Justin Melillo, Zach Mitchell, Ryan Navarocki, and Robert Lowry, failing to get the car home over the course of action today. And of course, the two drivers outside 107% who didn't get to race, Rafael Ruiz and Bill Colley II, not able to find some times as they went through. But Joey, you know, you start talking about what makes the car and track combination so difficult. It's a car that, quite honestly, is the stuff of dreams in terms of how you build a car to real world spec like they did here. It's also the sort of thing where you could say that this is the red-headed stepchild of sim racing, this Dallara IR01. It is so good.
I love it. You know, from watching it do 260 miles an hour around a square racetrack to taking on the Belgian countryside here, and it provided some great grip. The motor behind it sounds amazing. The speed that we saw just lapping around this place was phenomenal. And then not only that, but it seems difficult to drive with the three different compounds of tires. You have to be smart in how you approach the race, what your strategy is. You bundle that up, and you've got a great package to go racing with.
And speaking of, it's not going to be long before we hit the 600K, heading over to Texas Motor Speedway. And it's that sort of race that you look at on the calendar and say, wow, this is as quick as it gets, and the G-forces they must be pushing must be very similar to the blacking out that drivers used to have when they went around there back in the Indy days.
I'm happy that you brought that up, because I was going to bring it up if you didn't. Yeah, if you remember, there was some open wheel cars that were going so fast around that place that drivers were claiming they were blacking out or at least losing consciousness temporarily, and it certainly resulted in some wrecks. Thankfully, here in the virtual world, Jake, we don't have to deal with that as much, although maybe we should talk to iRacing. Should we put a G-Force simulator inside these cockpits?
Oh God, not a good idea. Not a good idea. What is a good idea though is talking to some of the drivers then with their results. Ben Fuller is along with us right now. Ben, a chance for you to jump in, assess the competition for you. At this point in time, you must be Mr. Open Wheel because it seems that no matter what car you put yourself in at the top formulas here in iRacing, you are rapid.
Jake Sperry, man. Long time no see, brother. I hope you're doing well, man. I had no idea you're on this as well. Busy guy.
It's good. It's 4:15 in the morning, so this is...
what the hell, man? What are you doing?
What am I doing? I don't know. But let's talk about the racing there, because it looked like for you that, especially on that sprint race, a hectic start for you. You get 8th up to 2nd, you get to the inside of the corner, and all of a sudden it's pandemonium behind you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, clearly I need a brush up on the standing starts. I think I messed both of them up today, so obviously need to practice that. I thought you could just sit there and in 10-15% throttle and not get wheel spin, but I guess I'm wrong. Need to go back to the drawing board on that. But yeah, on the sprint race, man, what a crazy start. Obviously, I knew that there was going to be an inverted 8 at some point. It was a little bit switched on the race, what was projected, but that's okay. Yeah, a little bit of a messy launch from the line, and then pretty decent run into turn 1. Going up the hill, just tried to pick the best lines possible. I got very fortunate that the gap on the inside down the Kimmel Straight opened up for me. I sent it up there, got into the corner, and P1 kind of drove himself off, unfortunately, and I got mid-corner and I was sideways, and I was hoping that nobody was going to ram into the back of me, but seemed like everybody else was struggling behind as well. And then, yeah, sprint race was pretty straightforward from there, especially with the cold tires on the safety car restart. That was really, really tricky. I pray that they don't bring a live safety car for the WCS because, man, there's just no grip on either of those restarts. Then we get into the main race, man.
Yeah, let's do it, because it looked like for you it was a bit of cat and mouse there. You had Connor Harrington, who was there on the medium. You were there on the hard compound tire for the majority of that race. And between you, Brandon, and the group who's there just sitting, waiting for that opportunity. Of course, you had the license to go out there and attack, but how much of that was you pretty much, I would say, counter watching, looking at the fuel numbers?
No, that was perfect execution of an IR1 race. That's what we did all of the WCS series. That's what's going to happen in the future whenever that comes around again. That's just what you have to do. You cannot lead the race. The leader is going to burn an extra 0.9 to 1.0 liters per lap here if he's not lifting. And so it's like you just lose so much time. You lose on the tires as well. So yeah, I was very happy to sit behind Connor there, just let him burn up his tires, burn up the fuel. I was happy to see that Brandon didn't want to really attack either, but even if he did, it wasn't like he was going to pull away. So I was glad that we just kind of sat in a train and really just from at that point, we knew that it was going to be me versus Brandon because, I didn't expect Connor to go to the softs. He went to the softs and I knew that wasn't going to last, so I didn't do that, thankfully. I think even if he went to the hards, he just wouldn't have had enough pace on the hard tires versus our new mediums, I guess. So I knew it was going to be between me and Brandon, and out of the pits there, tricky. I think I played it well on pit exit to let him go by. Tried to line up the overtake on my better lap, being lap 2 with the tires. I think lap 2, lap 3, the tires just become a little better in the window, but at that point, really just tried to pull away as best I could. Was burning up the fuel. I was pretty close on fuel number there at the end, but took a few laps to get out of it. You need that 1.25, I think it is, 1.2, something like that. A couple laps, I was like 0.03, 0.04 off. I was pretty annoyed out of the second Stavolo there, but overall, just played it pretty well. I think I had good pace, and really hope to see Brandon go out for the qualifier series. I know things are a little bit different on the fixed dock. This baseline dock or the Spa fixed or whatever that they built is much better than they used to build, but it's still not that great. I think it's still quite a ways off. So a little bit of a driving style adaptation there in the practice session. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. It was a fun event. Happy to come out and join, and good prep for the WCS later this year, hopefully.
I could listen to you talk about numbers all day, Ben. It's honestly such an
you.
insight getting to listen to you and talk. But before I let you go, is there anyone you'd like to thank? You did the double here today, 2 victories around Spa.
Yeah, and of course, just a big shout out to Apex. I think we're gonna have a pretty good showing here in the WCS whenever it comes around. Hoping for next season qualifiers and season 4, the championship rolls around. So hopefully, have a good showing in there and bring the championship back to Apex again. That's the main goal here.
Well, we hope that happens for you. Of course, Peter Berryman winning the inaugural championship in 2021. Ben Fuller there joining us. A victory here at the double around the circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. And joining us, who will be next, be the driver who finished in 2nd position. That'll be Brandon Hawkin, who will be stood by with Joey Atterbury.
Brandon Hawkin, congratulations on the 2nd place here tonight at Spa.
Sorry, my mic was slipped up. Thank you so much. that was a really fun race.
Well, Brandon, we saw you have a little bit of some trouble in the sprint race and then really have a great comeback drive to finish 4th there in that first sprint, but seemed like the feature definitely went more to your liking. Talk to us a little bit about that strategy, kind of being the caboose in that 3-car train.
Yeah, so I think we had I think it was Connor, I believe. Yeah, it was Connor that was leading the train there, and he was on medium. So both me and Ben were kind of just riding behind him, saving gas while he was gaining all the time in the corners. And so you're just kind of riding there for the first half of the race, and then I thought maybe I can get a leap on Ben because it once once I'm behind him, it's got to be really hard to pass him in the second run. And so I came in, just went on, got the mediums, and went on out. And unfortunately, he was able to come just ahead of me out of the pits. I got him in the draft there, but next lap he was right on me, and I couldn't really do too much. I was fighting a little bit of tightness. I couldn't keep up to him, and it looked like he had a lot of confidence over the curbs as well. So I just didn't have anything to come back at him. But it's always great racing with Ben. I had a really great battle with him in G Challenge there last year, and I know he's going to be one of the ones to watch for the World Championship coming up. So it's great racing with him and Connor, and it was great comeback there from the first race. It's just unfortunate they were going into turn 3 or whatever it was. Just not much I could do, but I was fortunately able to get a good starting position for the second race, and it was almost like it never happened. So that was good, and I'm just glad for good points. I think it was 1 point behind the points lead, but I think that should just barely get me up above Hamilton there. We're really close heading in. So yeah, good weekend, and I always love racing these things. It's so much fun, and we'll look forward to the next one.
Well, last question I had for you was exactly that. Talk to me about the car. You went kind of with that mistake back in the field, got to pass a lot of cars, and then definitely have a strategy race in the feature. Kind of 2 different shows tonight for you. What do you like about this car on the road course racing?
It's completely different from basically anything else. It just has some quirks. The tires are really interesting to work with. You didn't really notice it too much in this temperature, but once the temperature gets hotter, it's they just melt off. So there's a lot of really interesting things with this car, and of course it's just so fast. Especially on the super softs or on the softs in qualifying. You're just flying around the track, and this is with the fixed setup as well. If we were with open and max downforce, this thing would be just like a rocket ship. So this car is just a pleasure to drive. I kind of wish it was a real thing, just to see how it would race in real life. But it's just the dirty air's not too bad. It's super quick, and it's got a roaring V10 under there. So you gotta love that. So just really great car, a really great car that iRacing and Delara worked on.
Well, Brandon, once again, congrats on that second place. Anybody you want to thank?
Oh yeah, I'd just like to thank everybody over at FTF for putting this thing on. You guys in the broadcast booth, everybody who showed out tonight. We had a really great showing for a road course. I wasn't sure how many would show up, but we got a really nice amount. So yeah, just like to thank everybody for showing up. Really clean race, aside from a few things here and there, but of course that's always going to happen. And yeah, just a really great win to Ben. That was a lot of fun. And yeah, that's about it.
Well, that was Brandon Hawken coming home with a 4th place in the sprint and 2nd place in the feature here tonight.
Yeah, a really good result from him. Canadian who doesn't like ice hockey, apparently, which is one of the rarities that you find out there in the world. Hamilton Akabuzi, though, joins us in 3rd position overall. But Hamilton, I think the talk's going to have to be what happened at the top of the hill over at Malmedy Corner. It looked like you got stuck in 5th gear.
Yeah, I saw the safety car had come out, and I kind of slowed down, and I got caught off guard when Hawken passed me, and I mean I just drove into the grass, and it like spun me a little bit, and then once I think it was Robert Lowry touched me, we almost like merged together. So I slowed down probably a bit too much when the safety car came out right there. And yeah, just clip the grass.
So troubles in terms of that, but you had to work hard then back through the field after the contact, getting the fast repair, going back out there through the race. Just talk us through how you had to navigate through each position and each driver, because it's not a case on the oval where you can just go to the high line and just blitz around people, or go to the low line and find that pass to work it. You have to be choice in terms of the way you pass.
Yeah, I mean, all you need to do is get within like 8/10, and then the draft will just do the rest for you. But this car is wild to drive. I mean, my favorite car is the Indy car. I drive that a ton, and going from that to this is totally different. It just like insane amounts of grip that just defy physics. It's crazy. But yeah, once you catch the draft with the long straights here, you can just fly by somebody before you even get to the braking zone.
Talking of defying physics, let's talk Texas next round. You find yourself in a fantastic battle up at the top of the championship with Brandon Hawkins. So between you and him, do you think Texas is more your circuit?
Yeah, I mean, I've thrown away like either P2 or a win at Pocono, and then like me and Hawken were again running away at Phoenix until I crashed there. So I know I can do really well in the ovals. I know if Texas should be good for me. It should be fun. Draft is going to be crazy, and just I mean I need to do as well as I can on the ovals because I know Hawken. My goal is to finish second to Hawken on all the road courses. I wasn't expecting Ben to show up and just dominate, but yeah, just finish behind Hawken. That's my goal on the road courses, and try and gain whatever I can on the ovals.
Listen, Ben Fuller is an absolute alien when it comes to sim racing. There's no slouch in finishing behind him. But Hamilton, 3rd position overall in both races for you. Shout out sponsors. Who gets it done?
Well, thank you guys for the broadcast and putting it on for free as well. It's a fun series, some different to do, and some I'm better at than NASCAR for sure. So, yeah.
No worries at all there. Hamilton Akabuzi joining us then and finishing off in 3rd position in both races overall. That is going to wrap us up then for coverage here of your brilliant racing here at the Grand Prix de Spa-Francorchamps. This has been a circuit well worth it. There's been a lot of tactic and strategy in terms of what the roadside has given, but when it comes to FTF1, it is going to be quick fire in terms of the next rounds of the championship that you will be seeing. From Joey Atterbury, Zach Johnson, and myself, Jake Sperry, it has been a pleasure to bring you all of this racing action. It is flag to flag. Good game, because that was a great bit of racing that we had. Ben Fuller is making world championship preparations known because he is flying out there overall for the Apex Racing team. But Brandon Hawkin, proving he's got pace, will take the championship lead, and only by a slim margin as we head to where the racing's bigger and actually the accidents might be a bit bigger as well. We will see you next time at Texas.